NHL 24 is right around the corner, and in today's video, I'm going to go over the things that I would love to see in next year's title. Now, as I mostly cover Hockey Ultimate Team, I'm going to start with Hockey Ultimate Team. Over the next coming weeks, I'll give my thoughts on some of the other modes, but for this one, we're going to focus mostly on Hockey Ultimate Team. I also want to mention, I'm not really going to touch on gameplay, as I think that needs to be completely overhauled. There hasn't been a year in which we've gone year over year that gameplay has gone back so far like it did in NHL 23, and no matter what, gameplay is never going to be universally loved by the player base, because what I like might not be what you like, and what you like might not be what I like. So I'm really not going to touch about gameplay, but regardless, we can all agree, get the quick wrap out of the game. So that being said, these are the things I would love to see in NHL 24's Hockey Ultimate Team. First up, this one's pretty simple. Since we've essentially got confirmation that old gen will still be around in NHL 24, that already is a net negative, because even with crossplay, there was still a pretty big separation in the community, and until they get rid of old gen, I really don't think they're going to take full advantage of the next gen consoles, and it's already been like 4 years. But I understand why everyone isn't able to advance to the next generation yet, but this is, I think, the longest we've ever been carrying the past generation video game consoles games, and not just EA, but almost every sports game title is still making old-gen games, because it still accounts for like 20 to 30% of the game sale. That being said, what I would love to see in NHL 24 is cross-marketplace. We got crossplay in NHL 23, and while that saved a lot of issues that we had in NHL 22, the sense that we had 4 separate consoles and finding a game was an absolute disaster, it really didn't help all that much in NHL 23 because everyone stopped playing the game. But that being said, I would love to see the marketplace become unified. And obviously, I doubt that we'd be able to do that cross-generation. We at least need it to be crossplay from Xbox Series X to PS5 and PS4 to Xbox One. Because the way that Hockey Ultimate Team is set up in terms of just pumping out 1 billion cards, which that in itself is a brutal way to do it. It just, that seems to be locked in their only way to actually release content. So without reinventing the wheel, we desperately need crossplay, because they've essentially made it where the cards are a currency. It's not like Madden where there's like 4 separate currencies. We have coins, we have points you can buy, and then we have the actual card overalls, meaning that you trade in 90 overalls to get a set amount of event collectibles and so forth. So these cards, even though they're 92 overall, you might like the player, but you're more than likely just ignoring whoever's on the card and buying 92 overalls so that you can cash them in for event collectibles. And that works for every single overall. So if they have cross marketplace, that at least essentially doubles the amount of cards on the market. That allows you to sell cards that you actually want to sell. It allows you to buy cards so that we're not just getting starved so that we complete the little amount of content that we have because there's no cards in the market. So that is something that desperately needs to be in NHL 24. Number 2 is going to be HUD Rivals leaderboard, or something along those lines. So something that has become quite alarming, in my opinion, not just NHL, but in the gaming industry, is that more and more developers are trying to remove competitive play from being a focus of the game, yet still driving a lot of the popularity, like esports and things like that. And the big issue is that gamers like myself and everyone that's watching this right now, you do care a little bit about your record and how you play. And when that is completely removed from the game, then losses matter less, which means that games in general just matter less. Why I would love to see a HUD leaderboard of any kind is, again, one, it gives you a sense of victory when you actually win. When you win in Rivals currently, let's say I beat Regs, one of the best players ever in the history of the game. That'll probably never happen, but nonetheless, let's say I match up with him in Rivals and I beat him 2-1. Okay, he's in Division 1, I'm in Division 1, we match up, I win 2-1, I get, a couple hundred points, all right, towards the weekly rewards. The issue is that the game can't determine that Regs, one of the best players of all time, is any different than a random Division 1 player that is much worse than him, because all that is determined in terms of how you played was getting 5 goals and then winning. It doesn't determine in the background how good that opponent was. Now, with a leaderboard in place, you take some pride in your leaderboard skills. Like if you are a better player, you take pride in that, that record. So even if you have to just get through your games, there is still a sense of, I don't want to lose this game, not because of points or whatever the rewards are, but I don't want my record to get tarnished. Again, this isn't a massive thing, but it does help a little bit. Now, when you combine the fact that in the background, the points that you get for Rivals upon completing the games, those should take into account where they are in the leaderboard. Just like in Versus, where there's 5,000 or 10,000 players ranked, just have Rivals have a leaderboard. That way, if you match up with someone who is a god tier player, you'll get more points because you deserve it for beating that player. It doesn't matter if it's 5-1. It doesn't matter if it's 1-0. It's just something that blows my mind that was taken out of the game. And again, this isn't just EA NHL. Almost all sports games. I mean, even Battlefield, again, another EA title. If you hit menu in the middle of a match, you don't even see a player's kill-death ratio, which, again, for someone that's 30 plus is mind-boggling to me because your KD is really what all you flexed when you were a kid or while you were gaming. So it's just mind-boggling to me in that sense. But nonetheless, I would love to see a Rivals leaderboard. Sticking with Rivals, get rid of this ridiculous percentage-based system weekly. I think we can all agree. I even have this game as my job. The amount of times that I hit Ultimate was, I would say, maybe 10 times, and those happened at the beginning of the year. And the reason why it's ridiculous is because, again, it doesn't go off of how good you are. It goes off of how much you've played the game. It seems to me that this game specifically doesn't focus on you having fun. It focuses on you keep continuing to play the game. All of the modes, every single mode, is designed to get you to just play again. Whether you enjoy it or not, you've got to sit down. If you want to get the best rewards, you've got to play 50 games in a week. I play this game for a living. It is difficult to hit 50 games in a week. So for everyone that can, I applaud you for it. That's awesome. But for the 95% of the population that has no chance of doing that, regardless of your skill level, again, the big issue here is your skill level. It doesn't matter if you dominate and you win 20 games, you're still getting diamond or platinum probably. Whereas I could go, 25 and 25, but I played all my Ultimate games. Like, it sucks in that sense, right? Like, I would love to see it get away from the percentage-based thing. I think with a leaderboard in place, it would allow an ELO type system, a lot what we had before in competitive season. Comp seasons was well received because the rewards were guaranteed, but it also, you could play 10 games, win them all, and based on who you played, it would give you a set amount of points for that win. Meaning that if you stomped on someone that was 500 spots below you, you got like 5 points. You beat someone of the top players, you got 400. And I think that's how Rivals reward tiers should work. I also think they shouldn't be weekly. I think they should be bi-weekly to allow players to play at their own pace. And now I guess technically that would mean less rewards, but what if you just got more rewards and it was bi-weekly? Next, let's talk about squad battles. All right. I think squad battles is important because there is very little for you to do in this game if you are not an online player. And a lot of people just like to build their team and play offline against the CPU. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is that squad battles, the way you get rewards is it is an offline mode that makes you compete online against other players, which just seems to be going against themselves when it comes to this mode. What I would love to see in squad battles is let's make it something completely different from any other game. I would love to see franchise mode in Hockey Ultimate Team. And again, abstract idea, but this is something that I've thought about over the last year or so. Imagine that instead of playing 37 games against random selected opponents and then you get randomly rolled the amount of points you'll get, even if you get guaranteed, the highest score that you could, which is a joke in itself. Imagine if you had a season, and let's say it was 16 game regular season against CPU opponents, or even just like actual NHL team. And depending on the difficulty that you selected when you started that season, that determined the rewards you would get. You make the playoffs based on where you rank after that 16-game mini season, and then you play through the postseason as well. And the further you get, the more rewards that you are given, whether it be packs and whatever. You could do this as many times as you want. It is not something that you can cheese because you have to play the games to win them to actually make the playoffs and then actually win the Stanley Cup. So there's no reason and harm in letting people continually do it. Now, the other thing I would love to see, let's add scouting into the mix. Imagine there was 8 blank cards, maybe 10 blank cards, and at the start of your squad battle season run, you don't know who the cards are flipped over, right? They're all question mark. But as you go along, let's say you get the President's Trophy. That allows you to flip over a card. Let's say you win the first round, another one, second round, and so forth and so forth. But imagine if you did enough in squad battles and you won enough Stanley Cups and your coach card actually mattered. Head coach is completely pointless other than adding a random synergy to it. It's nothing that you think about. It's a complete afterthought. Imagine your coaching card was you. You could just make your own name. It's a created player that is a coach, and it has different things that you could actually do in-game in Hockey Ultimate. So let's say you hit a certain rank in squad battles by completing mini seasons, these mini seasons, and winning the Stanley Cup enough that imagine your coach hits like level 1 squad battles, and it allows you to flip over an extra card before you make your selection at the end of squad battles. So on top of getting packs or coins, you also get this guaranteed flipped over card. And among these 10 cards that are flipped over, there's a purple pull, but you don't know which which one it is. So you've got to perform better, which again allows you to put more on the line and actually be engaged with the mode. That is probably never going to happen, but I think that EA NHL has got to get away from just copying whatever Madden does or FIFA does and come up with something fresh and new. Their franchise mode is actually half decent. It's got its flaws, don't get me wrong, but I think we can all agree a lot of the game is held up by casual players that still just play franchise mode. So put franchise mode in Hockey Ultimate Team. Good Lord, the sets. All right, I talked about cross-marketplace being something that is desperately needed. I hate the fact, absolutely hate the fact that cards are currency. This is something that comes from Madden. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, what I mean by cards being currency is you take cards and you just trade them in based on their overall so that you can get whatever other cards you need. That is just breaking them down and turning them into a currency. So you lose the sense of owning that card. It goes completely against what a Ultimate Team mode should be. And that's card collect. Like, there is no card collecting in this game except for team builders. And you can argue, again, it's very, very minimal because you're allowed to just cash in whatever overalls they are. I know it would be difficult, but if cross-marketplace was a thing, collecting every single team's card individually instead of, 74 plus. Imagine you've got to collect every single Boston Bruin. It'll be more difficult because there's some that are going to be more rare, but I think that adds to it. Now imagine every team, again, that's how you got their team builder card, but imagine it was for every league. Silver and bronze cards have no point to them. Absolutely no point. Now imagine you could collect all of the OHL players. You collect all of the Niagara Ice Dogs, and at the end of it, okay, at launch of the game, you were able to be rewarded with an 87 overall Dougie Hamilton or Petrangelo, and this could go for any other team. The Sarnia Sting, let's say you collect all of the Sarnia Sting, you get an 87 overall Steven Stamkos. Again, it adds value to collecting cards. And in this game, the goal is to collect a bunch of cards and rewards, but to just throw them away. That's what it does. That's what you're doing, and I think that going away from that is desperately needed. All right, let's talk about HUD Champs. HUD Champs is the only mode in which they should listen to the 1%. The top best players that compete in HUD Champs that have a chance at winning, things like that, they should take their feedback and reward them for being good. It is the one mode that is meant for the top-end player, and if you are not a top-end player and HUD Champs isn't for you, I'm not saying that they should completely disregard you. I think that they should make Rivals more rewarding so that if you're a lower-tiered player, Rivals can be a little bit more fun and have more meaningfulness to it, but Rivals or HUD Champs should be based on, the player and being top-end player. They should reward you with very good cards if you are able to compete. It's the hardest thing to do. The one thing though, like by far, if this is not fixed in NHL 24, I am going to go into every developer meeting. I'm going to ask on Twitter every single day. I'm just going to reply and tweet at the EA NHL account. Why is there no difference between 11 wins and 14 wins? Because at 11 wins, you get 5 HUD Champs collectibles and a Jumbo Premium Players Pack. 13 wins is not worth a Jumbo Elite Players Pack compared to a Jumbo Premium Players Pack. It's not. 13 wins compared to 11 is a significant difference. It is. It is very easy for someone even in Division 3 to get 11 wins in HUD. To get 13 out of 20, because the game is server-based, meaning that the player pool is very small, you're matched up against very, very good players a lot more often than you would when it wasn't server-based, when you matched up against anyone. Not only that, 14 wins is completely pointless. Like, why? If you can't get 15 wins, just stop your run. There's no point. There needs to be a reward for 15 wins, 14 wins, 13 wins, 12 wins, 11, and 10. Those are significant differences in skill and ability. And again, it makes every game matter a little bit more. So I don't know if it's an extra HUD Champs collectible, more packs, something, but there needs to be a differentiating factor here between 11 wins and 14 wins in HUD Champs. And if there's not, I need an explanation as to why. Because there is no tech issue behind it. There's no reason as to why they can't listen to the community on this. That one just boggles my mind. Now, there are a ton of other things that I would love to see changed in NHL 24, and I think I could make like 4 or 5 videos, but I think it's just freshening up things that have been the same for 5 years. And it scares me because I don't know if we're ever going to get, immense changes. For example, daily challenges and the challenges in general. Guys, these have been the exact same essentially for 8 years. I'm not even kidding. Since like NHL 18, these are the exact same. They are monotonous. They are boring. Outside of the first 2 weeks of the game, they offer almost no fun at all. The rewards are at best extremely minimal, except for the very beginning of the game. So if you pick up the game after like November, they really offer no value because you can get better stuff by just playing it. I don't know if NHL, like bringing back moments is a possibility, but that would be the ultimate, allowing us to have moments to drop in and actually play as a specific moment. I always use this one as an example. Sam Gagne's 8-point night as an Edmonton Oiler. Like imagine you loaded into a game. One of the moments was a Sam Gagner card, and to get it, you had to get 8 points in a game, player locked as Sam Gagner. And there's infinite moments that you can do, but allowing you to get rewards based on that. Like imagine every single event that came out and the master set player that was available. If you completed all of their moments, you got their lowest tiered master set card. Not all the way upgraded, because God forbid EA gives you a ton of free stuff. But let's just pretend you get the free bottom tier card, saving you 7 or 5 collectibles, whatever it is. At least that makes it a little bit more meaningful. On top of that, if you make the moment actually matter and end when you finish the challenge, I think we're golden. I think that's a really fun way to spruce up offline content. But again, I don't know. Like this hasn't... I'd be stunned if they brought back challenges, because the only reason they're in the game still is to say that they're in the game. That's it. Now, there's a ton of other things, guys. I have a whole thing on HUD Rush. HUD Rush has so much potential, but it just feels like every other mode that gets introduced when it's brand new in Hockey Ultimate Team. It's new. They put a lot of focus on it. 4 years goes by, they don't touch it, no one plays it, and then it's out of the game. I would be stunned if in NHL 26, HUD Rush is even in the game. It has so much potential, but that's, completely unknown if we're going to see that. I know a lot of things like Madden, for example. The Madden team, I don't know if they work very closely with EA, but they definitely work closer than FIFA, because a lot of the things that you get in Madden, in a couple years later, they'll come over to NHL. Take X Factors, for example, or HUD Champs. Those are the things, like, those are in FIFA as well, but the X Factors specifically, like, anytime that Madden gets something, NHL usually gets it a couple years later. So they introduced the Season Pass last year. It was kind of a mess in Madden, but a Season Pass where you're allowed to play the game. It doesn't matter if you're playing Rivals, Squad Battle, Challenges, whatever it is, you're earning points towards the season program, as opposed to, oh, I gotta grind all my Squad Battles, oh, I gotta grind all my Rivals games, oh, I gotta grind Champs, which is just a job. Like, that's literally just a job without them sprucing it up at all. So a season pass would allow you to play the game that you want and get guaranteed rewards throughout. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below of those things that I brought up. Again, there's a million other things, but let me know specifically about those things if you agree and disagree, because I would love to get your feedback on, if I'm even making sense. Thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.